everybody. I'm Steve Kershner. I'm Assistant Professor of Classics at Austin Peay. And I'm here to talk to you today about what I've been thinking about during the pandemic and why we can't make it without the arts. So what I want to talk to you today about is imagination and how that is what the arts and the humanities do best, and how it's how we reach our students and the public, and we make the world a better place. So a few weeks back, my wife and I were watching a briefing about the pandemic, and a reporter was asking the various talking heads on stage why everybody was so badly prepared for this. How could this be? And one of the scientists said, well, it's clearly a failure of imagination. And that really rung a bell with me, because what that says is that people were not thinking about what could be. This is what we do best in the arts and the humanities. We teach the human condition, yes, but we teach how humans use and are affected by imagination more than anything else. Think about how artists create new things. They use their imaginations. Literature scholars, historians, philosophers, everybody that teaches this, basically we're teaching the imagination. And I want to give you two examples of how this works. The first is how when we show our passion for imaginative things, we have an effect upon our students. This is from the novel Stoner by John Williams, and I picked this novel up because it's about a professor of medieval English who's had a crappy life, and he realizes he wants to be a good teacher, and he shows his passion, and he has an effect upon his students. And this is what it says. He was ready to admit to himself that he had not been a good teacher. Always, from the time he had fumbled through his first classes of freshman English, he had been aware of the gulf that lay between what he felt for his subject and what he delivered in the classroom. He had hoped that time and experience would repair the gulf, but they had not done so. Those things that he held most deeply were most profoundly betrayed when he spoke of them to his classes. What was most alive withered in his words, and what moved him most became cold in his utterance. And the consciousness of his inadequacy distressed him so greatly that the sense of it grew habitual, as much a part of him as the stoop of his shoulders. But during the weeks that Edith, and that's his wife, was in St. Louis, when he lectured, he now and then found himself so lost in a subject that he became forgetful of his inadequacy, of himself, and even of the students before him. Now and then he became so caught by his enthusiasm that he stuttered, gesticulated, and ignored the lecture notes that usually guided his talks. At first he was disturbed by his outbursts, as if he presumed too familiarly upon his subject, and he apologized to his students. But when they began coming up to him after class, and when in their papers they began to show hints of imagination and the revelation of a tentative love, he was encouraged to do what he had never been taught to do. The love of literature, of language, of the mystery of the mind and heart, showing themselves in the minute, strange, and unexpected combinations of letters and words, in the blackest and coldest print. The love which he had hidden as if it were illicit and dangerous, he began to display, tentatively at first, and then boldly, and then proudly. And this is the moment where a professor realizes that showing one's passion gets the most out of their students, and showing why he loves works of the imagination and what it means. It changed the world for his students, and this is what we do. The other thing I'd like to talk about is something that the ancient world brings to us, and that is how we deal well with crises and adversities like this. And I want to talk to you about the greatest philosopher king that ever lived. the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who ruled Rome, most powerful man in the world in the 2nd century AD. And, by the way, an executive during a pandemic of his own, the Antonine Plague, which was probably smallpox. Now, what Marcus teaches us, and other Stoics do too, are the benefits of negative visualization. Negative visualization sounds like a real bummer, but it's actually one of the most joy-producing uses of the imagination possible. What it means to do is you sit and you imagine what the world would be like if you didn't have the things you care about. If your family was no longer with you, if you lost your house, your job, if you couldn't leave your apartment during a pandemic, how would you do, what would the world look like, and how would you deal with it? So then if that kind of adversity ever hit you, you knew how to deal with it. And the goal here is to show you how you can maintain peace of mind in even the worst of times, and even come to appreciate them more and have more gratitude for those things. And so I want to share one of his most famous quotes on this exact kind of exercise. Begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil. But for my part, I have long perceived the nature of good and its nobility, the nature of evil and its meanness, and also the nature of the culprit himself, who is my brother, though not in the physical sense. Similarly endowed with reason and a share of the divine. Therefore, none of those things can injure me, for nobody can implicate me in what is degrading. Neither can I be angry with my brother or fall foul of him, for he and I were born to work together like a man's two hands, feet or eyelids, or the upper and lower rows of teeth. To obstruct each other is against nature's law, and what is irritation or aversion but a form of obstruction? And so I beg you to don't be obstructed by adversity, but find the joy in how you can react to this and imagine it. Have a great day.